Today we are pattern hacking the Joy mini tea towel dress. Well, semi-hacking, because we're technically not altering the pattern in any way. We are just, instead of having the standard tea towel, which is the whole purpose of the Joy mini tea towel dress, we're going to create like a collage with your fabric scraps and maybe your not so nice tea towels. So your tea towels that are stained, been washed too much, so are looking a bit raggedy, and we're just going to create a whole new piece of art basically. And I have debated whether or not to use organza, which is something that I do for my other fabric collages, especially in my bags, and I'm going to use organza. However, for this tutorial you don't really need organza, but I really like the shimmery effect that organza gives, and I think with it layered underneath some other tea towel bits, it's gonna look really nice. For this tutorial, obviously you need the Joy mini tea towel dress pattern. It's on my website, it's on Etsy, it's in downloadable format, and it also comes in AO format. So if you don't fancy printing out all the pages, you can go get it sent to a local print shop and they can print it for you on like big format, which is very handy. Then you'll need to cut a piece of fabric that is a little bit wider and a little bit longer than your tea towel pattern piece. And we are basically going to cover this whole piece up, so it doesn't really matter if it's a dodgy print or a stained piece because it's going to get covered. Then you need some fabric scraps, which we are going to layer on top of the piece. Then you need your fun fabric collage bits. So things like butterflies, flowers, or anything that you can cut around on a tea towel, or maybe some embroidery that you like on napkins that you can cut around. Things that you can place on top of your tea towel piece. So for me, I'm going for the stained tea towel, which has loads of lovely little butterflies on. And then I've got some other tea towels that are just, they're okay, but they're just a little washed out, and I think I probably will never use them in a dress as they are, so might as well cut around them and use them that way. And finally, if you want to do the organza, then I recommend getting a piece that is slightly bigger than that tea towel piece. I have not come prepared today because I have not got a big piece. I've only got this slightly skinnier organza piece, but it's fine. We're going to work with it. For my collage, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this entire piece with scraps, and then I'm going to lay the organza on top, and then I'm going to lay the little collage pieces on top of that. And it's up to you if you would prefer to maybe press all of your pieces, organize it, and then sew it all together. But I am just going to be, I'm not going to say lazy, I'm going to say smart, and just iron as I go along. And unlike the collage bags, I'm not going to do 2 to 3 layers because I don't want it too thick. So I'm literally going to do this as my one and only layer. So assuming you don't have a gigantic iron bed, we're going to start to pin this in place, and then we can shift the fabric along so it doesn't all come apart. And assuming that you are slightly more prepared than me, and I've got a bigger piece of organza that covers the entire bit, then you can just go ahead and pin your scraps down and then shift the piece over. But I am going to just use my 2 thin pieces and somehow disguise the fact that I've only got 2 short pieces. And obviously when you are pinning, make sure you are just catching the lining of the fabric rather than your ironing board. Okay, I'm going to lift that organza piece up because obviously I need to add a bit more here, and then I'm just going to shift it so the remaining piece is on the ironing board like so, and I'm just going to carry on and cover this entire piece with my scraps. Okay, now that you have your piece, we are going to stitch the organza on top of the scrappy layer. And to do this, you can either just go crazy with your sewing machine, maybe with like a free motion sewing foot, and just do loads of squiggles, or if you're a bit more neater and you want to do just lines, then you can do that, and that is what I'm going to do. And to make it even more accurate, I'm going to use this snazzy little foot. It's like a little seam guide, and it just means that when I do my first line of stitching, this will go on the line, and it just means I'll sew nice straight lines. And I can either do it really wide, or I can somehow adjust it. Okay, well I can't do it now, but you can adjust this. So if I wanted to do very tiny little lines, then I can, but I'm going to keep it as that because clearly I don't know how to adjust it. So yeah, go ahead and sew your pattern piece. I'm setting the stitch length to 3mm and using a white thread. Make sure you take the pins out as you go along. And another recommendation is when you sew lines, don't turn the piece to start a new row of stitching, just because it usually bobbles. I think that's the right term, or like it like makes it wavy. So if you're stitching here, then make sure each of your rows of stitches are at the same top end of the tea towel piece. Got there in the end. So the organza has been stitched down and it's looking fabulous, slightly wonky in places, but hey, who doesn't mind a little bit of wonky? So I'm just going to cut this pattern piece out. So obviously this is cut on fold, so we're going to do that, cut the pattern piece and then start to collage on top. Now, grabbing your collage bits, I'm going to start to cut around different shapes, different objects that I really want featured on this pattern piece. So I am obsessed with cats, so I'm probably going to try and cut out around this entire tree cat bit. And then for the butterflies, I'm going to cut out a bunch of these butterflies. I'm going to try and avoid the ones that have got stains on, and probably use that for another project, but I'm thinking these cute little purpley ones and yellow ones just to match this. And then same with the flowers, I'm just going to pick a couple and cut around them as best as I can. Well, I'm having the most fun. I have just cut out the little dog to that tea towel because, I don't know, it felt wrong to keep them apart. So we are having a dog on this as well. And then I put the bits of flowers on there as well. And there are some like little stains, so I'm just gonna literally cover it up with some little flowers. And yeah, so I'm really happy with how this is looking. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch it down. I mean, there's different ways. You can either do a zigzag stitch around, sort of like making it really obvious, but I am going to just do a little running stitch and just stitch over each individual pieces. And if you've got layered pieces, then obviously you want to stitch down this piece first and then the bits on top. See what I mean? So I'm probably going to take this piece off and stitch this little flower piece first, then this, then this, then this. You pin all of the pieces in place. And another option is to hand stitch them on. If you've got a really sharp needle, it'd be really nice to do like a blanket stitch around each piece. That would look lovely. And just a little tip, if you've got loads and loads of pieces and you know that you're going to have to take them off to stitch them down, then just grab a quick little picture of it beforehand. It just helps when you put it all back together. this is the finished tea towel piece. I just need to trim all of the little scraggly threads that are on the back. If you are sensitive to like things that are a bit scratchy, then I recommend putting a bit of lining behind this and just stitching around the edge, just so it just feels a bit nicer on your skin. But I'm happy with that. I think it looks really snazzy. So I'm gonna go ahead and make the dress. So I'll see you in a minute. So I did cheat a little bit. Instead of using the Joy mini dress pattern, I actually used the new poly tee pattern. So I adapted the square neckline into a V. The side bodices are poly tee and the back is poly tee. And I only wanted to do that because I wanted to add this ruffle sleeve, which is also coming out next month as a pattern for you to use, which is amazing. So yes, the poly tee, the tammy, and the sleeve extension pack will all be available next month. All the testers have been chosen and are doing it as we speak, so I'm very excited. But this tea towel replacement can be used for any pattern piece really. If I wanted this to be a little scrappy thing, I can do that. If I want this to be scrappy. So yeah, there are endless options, which is what we love. I also added these cute little tea towel butterflies to here as well, because it looks like it's all the butterflies are flying away, which is lovely. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this tutorial. If you like this kind of thing, then please do subscribe. It really does help and I love doing this kind of thing. And as always, please like and comment because I love seeing your comments as well. And if you do decide to make stuff with the tutorials or patterns that I sell, then please do tag me. It fills me up with so much joy, you have no idea. And speaking of joy, thank you so much for watching this joy pattern hack. I will see you next time. Bye!